Well, I'm talking with the new Minister for DED, Mr. Laurence Skelly. It's a bit of a roundabout the last year for you, hasn't it? Really, you were here, then you up yourself. You got up to a minister. Mm-hmm. Did you think you'd ever be back here this quick, though?
I didn't. It was quite a shock, and I think we're still recovering from that. John Chimmon's resignation was unexpected, and we're disappointed. To see him go from Council of Ministers, and certainly from this post here.
Well, he says unexpected, but I mean, he said he would go if things went against him. He did, and he's
very
gone.
honourable and with dignity, I think too. But going back to the point, did I expect to see myself back here? No, I didn't. But I guess that sort of shows that old cliche is true. A week in politics is a very long time. So
now, Mr. Chimon had a lot of friends in business. You've worked under him in his department, so you've obviously got an understanding of it. Are you going to be able to take that forward? Because, I mean, there's a lot of things in the air. It's job creation, isn't it, really, your department? Well,
it is. And you touched on two very good points there, Paul. And first of all, it is about continuity. Obviously, with my experience being in this department for 2.5 years, having delegated pretty much all the delegations across the board, I do have that range of knowledge, experience and contact. And you mentioned job creation. That's very, very much at the forefront that I want to do, and that's take forward the growth in jobs. It's not just job creation, it is also about job security. And for me, when you talk about jobs, real jobs is real tax, and I think that's a massive benefit for the Isle of Man. Okay, well, the buck stops with you now. What have you done with if the theft had happened on your watch? That's a very good question, and what you have to do is you have to evaluate what is the damage. That was a judgment call made. There's obviously been an awful lot of political discussion around the vires of that, but I think the intention was absolutely right in terms of saving a key industry player in the tourism and the hospitality sector that crossed over into other sectors too. Would you have voted the same then? Well, I think assuming you had the appropriate vires, yes, I would want to support a business of that nature. And I can tell you, having been in the department at that particular time, beyond that, there have been other businesses that do come to this department looking for help. And there's a process that we have to go through, a due diligence process that we need to go through to see how it is that we can best support business. So what we do in this department is help business continue to be in business effectively, and if they stay in business they keep people employed, and therefore it comes back to that point of jobs. Yet he couldn't make that decision, he's proved that. Therefore, have you learned? Do you think you're learning lessons from this, that you would have to look at this a different way if it happened tomorrow? Another company, same size? If it happened tomorrow, I mean, obviously we there is the issue about the virus, is what we're talking about here. So you've got 2 points there: the intent, and I think the virus. The intent has always been the same, and that's been very honourable, and it is about trying to protect the industry of the Isle of Man, the economic industry, for the benefit. There was a lot of fallout though. I mean, another hotel group made it quite clear that they would have come in, they would like to have come in and picked up the hotel. Obviously, slightly cherry picking, but that's what happens. It's a real world. Do you think we're still in that situation where you need to prop up failing or businesses that seem to be underperforming anyway? Well, you can put it in that particular context, but you could also say, what happens if that other hotel came knocking on the door? And we have had businesses who certainly don't want to be named, who have come knocking on the door looking for help. And we would offer the same level. There's no favouritism, and this is a very key point. In this particular, I haven't been here and I've seen it, there's a sort of a revolving door. We have people coming in with new ideas, back this, do that. And what we have to do is to evaluate that. We've got a due process, due diligence, and to see how it is that we can best support all businesses and all industries and all individuals as well. Okay, well, that's the past. What's on your desk, no doubt, is numerous things, but let's talk about the nunnery. I mean, this has had a first look at exclusivity for this educational trust. They haven't hit their targets, haven't hit their dates. There's been extensions upon extensions. Other people may be interested. I don't know. You'd obviously know that one. Where do you go from this? Do you keep
the faith with this one group, or do you move on?
Well, I think you have to look at where we started, really, and having actually had the ICT delegation, I can tell you that there was a considerable amount of work to qualify why it is that we are trying to support this. And let's not forget, this is driven by the private sector. Government here is only playing a supporting role. And in essence, here we've got the private sector telling us, and we did conduct a considerable amount of research to determine there is a serious skill shortage here. So here we have Department of Economic Development working with Department of Education to try and provide training and education for our young people and possibly people to come to the Isle of Man.
I think people understand that, but are you going to extend with them exclusivity?
Do we need to extend it? Well, what we need to do is to evaluate exactly where they are up to. I have a meeting actually today. We're going before Council Ministers next week, and it will be a decision for Council Ministers to decide. From what I've heard to date, they are on track, and what we do need to do is to ensure that they can deliver, and that's a key point really at the end of the day. What we are dealing with here, as I said to you before, there are people coming in here all day long. The activity is phenomenal across all sectors, and what we've got to do is to be able to evaluate what is really deliverable and what's going to be a benefit for our economy here on the Isle of Man.
There's no doubt this is a high-flying job. I mean, you could be the next Chief Minister in a couple of years. In fact, who knows when anyone might move around next. Is that something you'd like to look at?
Good question again. A question like that, I think you need to put yourself in for Clarkson's job, actually. Again, a week in politics is a long time, and really all I want to focus on is the job at hand at this time.
That's a politician's answer.
It is a politician's answer.
You're not saying no, are you?
I don't think anyone says no to any job, and I think that's the key point that I would say, and I've said it all along. I would always do the job that I've been asked to do by the Chief Minister, taking into consideration my experience and my background and what will be a benefit for this government and the Isle of Man.
You're in the inner circle now. You're in Coman. Very fast tracking. Yet it has been criticised now. It's a bit relentless over the last few weeks. Some of the decisions that are coming out there. Do you have to hold tight with the Chief Minister on everything here, or do you see there's wriggle room that things are not going to play out?
Well, what we have to do is we have to ensure that we've followed all the appropriate measures. So any decisions that are made, that it does need to go through. And interestingly enough, I've just come from infrastructure, which has some really significant and huge challenges. With regards to any particular policies that you want to bring through, you actually first and foremost need to get the support of your members. And in that particular department, I had four members with me taking it forward. And that's before you go to Council of Ministers, then to gain their support before you bring anything forward.
But there's criticism that you're not going back to Tynwald enough. I mean, like the money that was taken from the National Insurance Fund and that sort of thing. You were in Coman, I guess, then? That was taken?
No, I wasn't actually
no, okay.
in that particular case.
But you have to support it now that the decisions that are made. Right?
Decisions are made. At the time. At the time with the information and the evidence there that's presented before you. And again, I guess you just that probably highlights the biggest point. We try and make politicians. We're here to really set the vision, the strategy, show the leadership, and then we have to put the policy behind that with the executive delivers. So when we're making decisions, we're actually basing our decisions on the evidence that's provided for us, based on what we've actually given to them to set a strategy.
I think people just want to know that you're your own man at the end of the day, because there's this feeling now with Coman, everyone's taking collective responsibility, therefore no one's to blame anymore. It's just we've all agreed that we're not going to discuss how we got to that, but we've all made a decision on it.
I know you could say that to blame, but then there are so many good news things that do happen. It's easy to focus in what didn't happen, and and I guess you could just go back and say what happens if we didn't do that, or what happens if we did. Talk about the MEF. In 5 years' time, and we have an educational facility, and I can tell you this, having been travels around, I was with Chief Minister of British Irish Council, and I heard every other jurisdiction comparing what we are doing on the Isle of Man, whether it be film, whether it be an ICT university, whether it be the diversification, whether it be the economic growth and our employment so low. We got so much to really be proud of, and quite frankly, what we do need to do is we need to take a step back and not always look inward, but always, and consider looking outward, because the opportunity and how the Isle of Man fares beyond our shores needs to also be considered.
Okay, fine. You disappointed giving up the old job? Mr. Gordon's gone in there again. You had a few hot potatoes parking and all that.
Well, first and foremost, a good point with regards to, I think, interpretation. We've gone from a public consultation to turn into proposals, and that's the media putting it in that particular spin, if you like. We get, criticised as spin, but the media put it in that, and consequently it's generated a lot of interest. It has generated a lot of interest. They are hot potatoes, but these are difficult times in respect to trying to rebalance the budget. And I would just end on this final point here. Obviously, a lot of the work there was all about rebalancing the budget. I'm now in economic development, which I've been before, and to be quite frank, we have three main principles that we are trying to focus on with regards to government. And if we want to protect the vulnerable, we want to rebalance the budget. Coming before that has to be economic growth, because it will be so much more difficult to protect the vulnerable and rebalance the budget if we don't have economic growth.
Okay, well, we'll be chatting to you no doubt many times. You're looking forward to the job though, are you?
Absolutely, yes, indeed. And I'm delighted, we have a fantastic team here, and very motivated, and we will do our best to deliver for the Isle of Man.